So it's all for play for still.
I think so. Do you want to bet against us?
Hi, villains, and welcome to the Love of Paul McGrath podcast. We're here completely impromptu. Just decided, myself and Paddy, we were going to look. I'll tell you exactly how impromptu it is. Don't even have the backing up or anything like that. God, can't get good help these days. Sure, you can't. We had. If anybody out there wants to be a producer for the podcast, that'd be fantastic.
Wouldn't it just?
Or if anybody knows how to graft the other 3 arms underneath the ones I have at the moment, that'd be fantastic. So I could press all the buttons. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Myself and Paddy, we were going to do a podcast tonight. We were going to chat just about the Stoke game, and we were going to chat about Dean Smith being back on the training ground and JohnTerry also leaving, and we will get to those. But in the last few minutes, it's been noted that Leon Bailey has, it's looking like Leon Bailey is going to leave Leverkusen. And it looks like that Aston Villa are very, very heavily linked. It's coming from very, very reputable sources within Germany. I'm not going to try and pronounce his surname, but Max of Sky Sports in German Sky Sports has mentioned it. Also, Ronan Murphy, fellow Irishman, who is a reporter for Goal.com, specifically with Bundesliga, had reported that Leon Bailey and Aston Villa are in talks, Aston Villa and Leverkusen are in talks about over Leon Bailey, which no, it's been something that's been rumoured, Paddy, and it's been murmured over the last few days. We did a podcast on him, on his strengths and weaknesses, well, mostly specifically his strengths, really, during the week, because it had been rumoured. But this is the first concrete kind of evidence that something may be happening, and it's coming from Germany as opposed to coming from the UK. But Paddy, what's your thoughts on this one? Talk to me on it. We've barely even spoken about this even through text message or anything.
No, we haven't. No, it's one I'm pretty excited about, and I've very little to base that on other than the expert knowledge that you shared in the previous podcast, which, funnily enough, I only got around to listening to properly today. So, look, he's by far and away, fits into our system like no other. I have a Dutch friend who lives in Germany who's just fountain of knowledge, and I spoke to him today after watching your clips, and he said whoever gets this is going to get a bargain. He said this guy is going to go for 60, 70, 80 million in years to come. So if we get in there now and tie this down, and it is us, happy bloody days, because it just screams of a signing that would fit into our system. I don't know what we're going to do with Jack Grealish and everybody else, but again, how many times have we said these players have been brought in to give others rest, to rotate the system, to change things up for different challenges that the defensive for the likes of West Ham putting 2 defenders on Jack Grealish, all that kind of stuff. They just can't do that with players like Leon Bailey on the pitch. They can't do that with players like Buendia on the pitch. So all of these things coming together are just going to be so exciting, and fingers crossed they can get this one over the line.
Yeah, absolutely. Like Leon Bailey he's somebody that we need, and I'm actually going to recycle some of the stuff, some of the content that we used on the last podcast, because I think it's relevant, and it's very relevant to talk about it here. And plus, it might help answer some of the questions that I can see popping up there in the chat room. There, we've got a couple of them there, and one of them is from Gaz Oaks. If we sign Bailey, that means it Buendia at 10, doesn't it?
Not necessarily.
So. Not necessarily, but I think I don't think it's completely against the realms of possibility. If we look at where Leon Bailey has played previously, I suppose really where most of his minutes, most of his starts have come from, and I'm just going to share this up there. I don't know, can you guys be able to see this? So, guys, I'm just going to take your comment down there. But if you look at where Leon Bailey has played previously, like most of his games come from the wings, but most of his game come from the left wing. So I think potentially it might mean that Jack Grealish plays in the centre, but also I'm very, very much of the opinion that I don't think that we even have a number 10 this season. I don't think we play with a number 10 this season. I think that we play more with a flat midfield three, a flat or midfield three. I don't think it's ever going to be specifically flat, but it's going to be flat or a midfield three, potentially this year. And if we don't play with that system, I think maybe we'll move Jack in there. But yes, I think Buendia could certainly go in that side. And I think what Leon Bailey gives us is he gives us that ability to be able to either start him left or start him right, to have that unpredictability from a pace point of view. Also, you're going to have Bertrand Traore as well, because forgotten man, you're going to have people like Morgan Sanson as well, which makes me think that potentially we might have a more withdrawn player, maybe 2 8s as opposed to a 6 and 8 and a 10 like we played at times last season. Might have more of a Morgan Sanson in there, or maybe he's an option because he seems to be a bit of a forgotten man because he hasn't played much since April or May time. But it gives us massive amount of options, and even just based on this, you know, you can see 47 games, 3,600 odd minutes at left wing and 2,686 odd minutes from right wing as well. Leon Bailey isn't going to be a number 10. That's
no, definitely not.
I don't see.
We're definitely going to see him off the wing, and I reckon we'll probably see him time to time up top, depending on what's required. If we don't sign another striker, I could definitely see him filling in there if needs be. I think he's probably of Bertrand Traore, Emi Buendia, Jack Grealish, he's probably the only one that won't play through the middle. So no, I wouldn't rule out Bertrand Traore filling in that position either. There's a lot that can happen here, and isn't it exciting to be potentially having an embarrassment of riches in that department, which we've just never had in all of my time supporting Aston Villa.
Absolutely. Matt Hayes from the Tottenham blog is popped in. Matt is a good friend of the podcast. It's just an interesting one here that Spurs fans are giving out about us getting Bryan Gil instead of Leon Bailey. I got pelters. Well, I won't say I got pelters, but on Twitter about 6 or 7 weeks ago, I started talking about Bryan Gil as being just a fantastic dribbler of the ball. He's a sensational dribbler of the ball. More, I suppose, he's more cultured than a pace player, I think. But I think if Spurs fans took time to watch Bryan Gil, they wouldn't be giving out about him. You know, the grass is always greener. I'm sure Spurs fans would be giving out about someone signing somewhere else, just like Aston Villa would be giving out about somebody signing for another team as well at various portions of the season. But Bryan Gil is definitely not second prize. He's better than Eric Lamela anyway, that's for sure. But Leon Bailey is definitely
little Cruyff. Is that what they call him?
Bryan Gil? Something along those lines. Yeah. He's a fantastic player. He's just a really good dribbler of the ball. But once again, Leon Bailey's feet are fantastic. He's very, very fast feet. Obviously, a lot of Caribbean players are flair players, you know. And Leon Bailey certainly has that definitely in his locker. Just before I go to a couple of other chats that we have here and other comments that we have here, guys, if you are tuning in for the very first time, really appreciate it if you could give our YouTube subscribe on our YouTube. We're 40-ish people away from 1,000. We're too old, guys, here in Ireland. It's just a pure another vanity project. Going to make no bones about it. It's just, we set ourselves a goal of getting to 1,000 before the season started. We'd really appreciate it. Cost nothing. We'd love a little subscribe if you could. If you aren't subscribed already, because we'll be doing a lot more of these as the season goes on. So thank you so much to everybody for everything you do. And if you could just subscribe on YouTube, it would make us very, very happy men here in Ireland. But there's an interesting one here for you, Paddy, and we'll get back to some more stats for Leon Bailey in a moment. But there's an interesting one here. Kieran McKenna says, who loses out in minutes if Traore, from Traore, Algaz, or Trezeguet, and Philogene Bidace, who we've seen getting more minutes? So who do you think loses out there with bringing in another wing player?
I'll make a bold prediction here to start with. If Leon Bailey signs, that's, for me, spells the end of Anwar El Ghazi. I think we will be definitely shipping someone out, and I think it would be Anwar, because obviously we can sell Trez because he's injured, and Traore, I think he's a lot more to offer than Anwar, and we're going to be looking at him for the future. Philogene Bidace, I think, could go on loan. Nothing to base that on. I just think that's what will probably happen. But ultimately, I think it'll be El Ghazi that will miss out if we make this signing.
Paddy, it's interesting as well with Philogene Bidace. it's only about 6 or 7 or maybe 8 months ago that we're all saying, oh, it's Dortmund or somebody we're going to, I think it was Leipzig, we're going to kind of snatch him off us. And
Yeah.
everyone was like, play him quickly. And isn't it mad how kind of the worm turns in instances like this? Now we're kind of going, send him along to a championship team or something. It's really interesting the way kind of the life of football comes at you hard. And this isn't to say anything bad about Philogene Beres. It's kind of more to say Aston Villa are not a mirage of a team who are going to, act the quote unquote Billy Big Bollocks. We look like we're doing things with something in mind, and we're bringing in decent players, with Buendia, and if Leon Bailey does come through the door, like these are big signings for Aston Villa. But it doesn't mean that somebody like Philogene Beres doesn't come in, doesn't go on loan, maybe take over that Trezeguet role, that Anwar El Ghazi role next season. After this season, there will still be a lot of trade on tires for people like El Ghazi and for Trezeguet to maybe make some money for the club, or even, who knows about this year. If El Ghazi scores another 10 goals this year, who says that we even want to get rid of him? Yeah, and I know you don't think he's going to score 10 goals.
I don't think he's going to see enough action to score 10 goals if we sign Leon Bailey. True. I just can't see how we're going to pigeonhole Anwar into any of this. So that's just my opinion, that I think that he'll be the one that will miss out. Because when we've got to the stage now in that department that somebody will have to be moved on, and I've given my case for the others. I just don't think that it'll be anyone else other than Anwar.
David Miller says the Buendia can play in the back role, playing through balls, and he can tackle too. Buendia can tackle. Buendia, in the 2 games I've seen, Buendia is the narkiest, rattiest man I've seen play for Aston Villa in a long, long time. And I absolutely love it. Absolutely love it, because he's just got this kind of like, it's like he walks onto the field and he's small and, he's smiling and you hear him. He's really, really kind of quietly spoken, and he's got high pitched voice, and he comes across as being meek. And then the second you stand on his toe, he turns into, a Mighty Mouse. Or have you ever seen that film Carrie? You never see that film Carrie before. Slice little thing sets off, she blows up the whole house. He's kind of like that, I think, on the field. And Norwich fans and the guys that we had on from the Canary Cast said, just be prepared to be without him for at least 2 or 3 games a season, because he will get sent off, And yes, he can tackle and he likes to get tackled, but as long as somebody doesn't leave a leg in on him, he's definitely going to be a bit more combative. I think in places like that.
He's a tough little cookie. My main concern is his mouth. You can see, I like to see a player getting in the referee's ear, because every other big team does it to us. So we should be a big team. We just got to choose our words carefully and choose our battles. So we're not picking up.
What I like about it is at least it takes the focus off Jack. If you've got another player that's in there and gets in the referee's ear, look, United did it for years with Ferdinand and Keane and other players. There was a multitude of players. Gary Neville getting in fellas' ears, Stam getting, good teams do that. They take turns walking up and kind of, having a word with the ref, trying to get to them, all this kind of stuff. And when I say get to know him, I mean with quotation marks really there as well. But it's something that. If you have a bit of a moan at the ref and it's coming from different voices, I don't think it's specifically a bad thing from that point of view. David Ward says that this season is all about depth of the team. I think we're going to be a scary team this season. Absolutely. And that's why I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see a mass exodus of players go from this team. I think if it comes down to it, we'll probably see 1 or 2 of the young players go out alone because we know that if our players that we keep around play well, we'll get transfer value for them next season, regardless of what happens. I think Anwar El Ghazi goes anywhere on the continent and scores 10 goals. I think he does. I think he's quite a good player. I think sometimes the Premier League doesn't suit him. Who knows what way Pez is going to come back. It was a pretty nasty looking injury, one of those kind of almost non-contact injuries as such. You never like to see those ones, and who knows what state of the season he's going to be back in. And obviously Traore is just back on the field. I think he's just back doing some light training now as well. So it's we're not exactly stacked in the wide positions at the moment. So like we've played Aaron Ramsey and Carney checking back out there anyway. In the last 2 games, so it is definitely about depth. But that's certainly.
But there's other parts of the pitch where we're lacking a bit as well. We need to get in a centre half, I would imagine. to fill the void of Bjorn Engels, because with a couple of injuries we'd be badly stuck there at centre half. Now I know they've brought in Bogard and he has looked quite comfortable there, but I think that would be, if we get Leon Bailey over the line at a centre half, will probably be our next purchase.
Yeah, actually, Jude, before I come to your question, I'm actually just going to just pop up a couple of stats about Leon Bailey, and then maybe we can move on to other signings then afterwards, and just kind of for the moment draw a line under Leon Bailey. But here are some stats I wanted to show Leon Bailey in comparison with Jack Grealish, because why not? Leon Bailey and Jack Grealish are going to be, if he signs for Aston Villa, they're going to be two of our go-to people. So obviously I just wanted to share up one or two little things here. And the biggest piece for me is that they both played a similar amount of games last season, and they both played a similar amount of minutes last season. Jack Grealish obviously carried the ball an awful lot further than Leon Bailey did. And Leon Bailey had a better shot success percentage. He took a lot more shots. I actually just realised there that my numbers on Jack Grealish's shots look to be very off there. But Leon Bailey, the shot percentage is right. It's just the amount of successful shots seem to be off. But Leon Bailey took a lot more shots than Jack Grealish did last season. Also, the pressure rates are very, very similar for the amount of defensive work that they do. Because one of the things with Leon Bailey was that maybe his percentage, or that his defensive work wasn't up to scratch. But Peter Bosz is a very tactically driven type manager. And it took him 2 or 3 years to really drill it into Leon Bailey. It seems that, you can play both ways. You can play going forward, you can play going backwards. And, it's very important to be able to play both ways. And especially when you're in the Premier League, it certainly is very important to do that. With regards to how important they are to the team, I think this is a really interesting stat. That Leon Bailey, when the goals scored when he was on the field as to when he wasn't on the field, there was a positive of 0.73 goals per 90 minutes. What that means is that when Leon Bailey was on the field, he accounted for, or the team accounted for plus 0.73 goals per 90 minutes when he was on the field. We can look there with Jack. It's very similar to how much we relied on Jack as well, plus 0.71 goals per 90 minutes. The team scored 42 goals with Leon Bailey in the team, and they only scored 11 goals with him out of the team last season. With us, we scored 40 with Jack. We scored 15 goals without him. It's not a direct comparison of the two players. I just thought they were interesting statistics to show what it was like playing with one player, and then when he was out of the team, what way the team played as well. So just wanted to show up those statistics. There are some ones I came across and I thought they were really interesting to highlight that the attacking intent and how much Leon Bailey actually brings to or brought to the Leverkusen team last year. And remember as well, a Leverkusen team that had lost Kai Havertz, who was really their talisman the year previous. So somebody had to step up to the plate, and while Leverkusen didn't exactly have a brilliant year, they were up around the top of the Bundesliga, and Leon Bailey had his best season ever, so he did go some way to filling those boots of a Kai Havertz from last year. So just going to remove that there, and we might get into more stuff. Where is Jude's comment there? So Paddy, if Leon Bailey gets over the line, how many more additions do you think this squad needs as of today, the 26th of July 2021?
I'm a bit like you, Neil. I like to see loads of players coming in, and every transfer target I'd like to see coming to us. Realistically, I'd like to see 2 more. I'd like to see a centre half, which I think is vital, and I'd like to see a big central midfielder, but failing that, another striker. So that's where I'm at with it. If we only bring in 1 more with Bailey, and it's a centre half, I think I'd be happy enough with what we have, because those guys are going to take so much pressure off the midfield. It's just going to be unbelievable. So that's where I stand on it. The centre half is the vital one, because at the moment we've only got it with regards to people who've got a little bit of experience. Obviously, Tyrone Mings still isn't back with the squad yet. Then we have Courtney House and obviously Ezri Konza. So it's light enough. You've only got 3 people going into 2 positions. So if there was a suspension or an injury or both at the same time, we're in trouble at centre half.
Yeah, I think I listened to Villa View and I see Dan is actually there. Come on, Dan, thanks to him for tuning in, Dan Bardell. And Dan mentioned something along the lines of that maybe we get somebody who can cover defensive mid and centre half, Axel Tuanzebe type player. And you know what? That was kind of a light bulb moment. It makes so much sense. It feeds into the versatility that we're looking for from players. You know, if we've got versatility up front, we're most likely going to look for versatility at the back. And I think Tuanzebe could be somebody who could do that as well. Yeah. Paddy, you also mentioned, and I think they're the two pivotal positions, I think, for us now going forward. Striker, yes, but saying that, I think that we'll be so fluid up there that we will see, like Ian Bailey comes in there. I think we could see a lot of rotation up there, and I think that Dean Smith might be happy with Leon Bailey's pace. That it might let's call it what it is. Ollie Watkins scored however many goals last season. I can't remember. Was it 15, 16 goals last season? Ollie Watkins is a converted winger. I think a converted winger can work in the team. I would like us to sign in a striker, but if you were to tell me right now, are we going to sign in a striker? I just don't know. I couldn't give you a name. Tammy Abraham isn't coming through the doors in my view. I think it's too late in the window for that.
I think if Tammy was a realistic target, it would be done already. So for that reason, I don't think it is. Tuanzebe would be an interesting one. Apparently only available on loan though. But as you said, could fill in.
Will they ever shit or get off the pot with him? Like, no, they just don't. It's like he's like a jilted lover every time, and he just takes
he played a lot of games. In fairness to them, last season, you know, important games too in Europe. So he has been given opportunities, but he obviously just doesn't trust them to be there long term. So he wants them to go out and get a more experience somewhere. So if it's on loan, we're not going to sign him because they want someone who's going to play him every week. And at the moment, coming to us, he's not going to play every week unless we play him as a defensive midfielder. But then who misses out in that scenario? It's hard to tell. But I just don't see. That's why I don't see him coming. If they said yes, he's up for sale, I think he would be a good buy for us. But on loan, we're not going to get him.
Potentially we might go for some sort of centre half, maybe a young up and coming centre half or something like that. But I just don't see it. Like, we've got Lamar Bogard, and I think that if Tuanzebe comes in, as you mentioned, he will want to go and play somewhere. Like, he might as well just stay at Man United if he's going to come in and play 12 games a season, you know. But if we get a Lamar Bogard, I genuinely believe the reason they're playing Lamar Bogard at centre half is to toughen him up from a defensive point of view, that he will actually play defensive midfield. At Feyenoord, he was brought into this club as a 16-year-old to play the defensive midfielder. This isn't hyperbole based on the two games that we've seen of him. I really like the look of him in both those games. He can play the ball at his feet, and I think that's what they're doing. I think they're moving him back to be able to bring him out again a small bit, or to have that versatility. I really like the look of Svinkels as well. He's centre half. His compatriot that was playing centre half in the FAU Cup final as well. He's a bit of a bigger guy. I don't expect him to progress at the same speed as Lamar Bogard, because I think he's a bit more cumbersome and he's a bit more of a stopper than he is a kind of a cultured defender. But I really like the look of him. I think he offers something to us, but it would be interesting to see what they do in that kind of defensive midfielder situation. As I was saying beforehand, if they go to a kind of a more flatter screen midfield, do we need an out-and-out defensive midfielder if we're getting another body back there, and if we're not going to play a number 10 up front? And all things point that potentially we're not going to play a number 10 up front. And if we do, it might be Jack Grealish. You know, so look, there's a lot of unanswered questions, I think, with that. And recruitment will answer some of them, for sure. Recruitment will answer some of them.
I suppose the other big thing with additions is the striker situation. There's a lot of people very worried about whether we've got adequate backup, if anything, to us.
We don't.
Yeah, I don't believe we do either at the moment. I think Wesley's still a good bit off. I think Keenan isn't the finished article. I really, really hope he can push on and get stronger and get more confidence in front of goal, but I just can't see it at the moment. So the worry, it's not a huge worry, because Ollie Watkins is so evergreen, and you know he hasn't picked up injuries throughout his career. But that's not to say an incident like what happened to Wesley couldn't happen and rule him out long term, and then we're in big trouble. So who's our backup then? Is it going to be either of them two? Do we bring Louis Barry basically from the shadows, because he's been kind of kept on the sideline as if he's not ready yet? There you go. Will he go out on loan? he probably needs to. In my opinion, he probably needs to. He's still a little bit young. He's still a little bit raw. It seems a bit strange me saying this because Liverpool didn't do that when they had a talent like Michael Owen ready to come in. They just played him. So maybe it is time to play him. But there's definitely a decision needs to be made on Louis Barry over the next 4 or 5 weeks, I would imagine, before the transfer window closes. I personally would like to see him go out on loan and see what he's made of week in, week out, and all going well, he comes back into the team in next season and can give us a different dimension up front.
Here's an interesting one for you, Paddy, and I'm going to have a crack answer in it. Alvarez could be backup striker, right? I think, like, if you were to say to me, will we sign Tammy for 45 million or will we sign Alvarez and Leon Bailey, given that they're unknown entities coming from a different league, for 50 million? I think you'd have to go with the two unknown entities in Alvarez and Bailey, just for what they potentially could bring. Like, don't get me wrong, I absolutely love Tammy Abraham, and I think he comes to Aston Villa, he scores 16, 17, 18 goals for Aston Villa. He's just a striker. That's what he is. He's a damn good striker. I think he gets into the England squad if he's playing with Aston Villa. He gets back into the England squad. I just don't see the transfer being done. I just don't. Like, they've had ample amount of time and opportunity and they've got money to spend. I don't think they value him at 40 million. Well, I think they could pick up someone like Alvarez for 15 to 20 million. And then if they were to get Leon Bailey for 35, listen, you're talking 50 to 55 million. And yeah, look, we're going to be still looking for defensive reinforcements, and that's going to be a massive worry unless we go away and get Chris Samba out of retirement again. He could cover striker and centre half again. He's adept at both. But it's going to be really interesting. I don't know how many additions we're going to make. We also have a second or potentially third choice goalkeeper choice to make, because I did read we were linked with Jack Stevens from Oxford United. Now, I know somebody who's playing for Oxford United, and I've reached out to them to see if there's any truth in that. But the ship is tight in Oxford, and I got nothing back from that. But it seems to be a young up and coming goalkeeper, 22, 23 years of age. Maybe he comes in. There's about 4 positions we need to fill. And we're not going to fill them all.
There's a lot of faith in Sinisalo and Philip Marshall as well. So yeah, I don't envisage that's one they're particularly worried about. I was a little bit anxious after watching Jed Steer. He had a bit of a moment in the first game against Walsall, and then he poor decision making on the first goal at the weekend when he decided to come for a ball that was landing on the edge of the box, which he absolutely no right of getting to, and was caught short and the ball looped over his head. So I think that's lack of game time as well with him. His decision making isn't quite there. And can you afford to bring someone in like that can make it? I don't know. So maybe we need to sign someone, but it seems to be that they have a lot of faith in the 2 young lads that are there. So that might not be their priority.
Adam Nicholson has come up with an interesting piece there. We're not advocating that we're not kicking El Ghazi out the door here, guys. It just so happens that he probably is the most saleable asset that we have at the moment.
I have tried to kick him out before in the past, but
after the time he didn't put his head. Yeah, after he didn't put his head in that ball against Everton, I think it was. I think you were ready to ship him out yourself, but that is an interesting prospect. There was rumors of El Ghazi being courted by other teams as well this season. So potentially, if there is an out that happens within the Aston Villa team, who knows? Who knows where it's going to come from? But I suppose I've been talking about these transfers as in we're not going to recoup any cash back. But who knows? Maybe we do. Maybe we get 6, 7, 8 million out of nowhere for somebody that comes in and bids for El Ghazi. Maybe someone wants to take Wesley off their hands. For although I don't think it happens now, but it's an interesting one. It really is an interesting one.
And in the last couple of days, a few people have suggested to me that Steve Bruce is interested in taking El Ghazi, so that'll be one to watch out for. Maybe Newcastle are interested.
I saw a great chat here. I'm trying to go back to get it. This one, signing Bailey will mean we've nearly got as much width as my waistline. I feel exactly the same way, Leighton. I feel exactly the same way. Yeah. Let's get this one done as well, Paddy. Do you think Bailey signing signals Grealish could be off?
No, still.
I don't think so.
This is building a team around Grealish. It's not signing replacements or doing anything like it. Jack needs help, and this is help. It's not replacements. I would, as I said so many times, Jack's not going anywhere this year. I just can't see it. If we don't improve, or if we don't get at least European football next year, then thanks very much, Jack. You can go now. If he wants to go, maybe he doesn't want to go at all. Maybe he's happy to go with this long term. He's getting copious amount of cash to stay here. So stay here and become, there's no question when we go back to talk about in years to come about the greatest players we've ever seen in the Claret and Blue, he's going to be up there with Paul McGrath. Probably will surpass him if he stays there for the rest of his career. So, I just can't see how a fan would want to leave where he's at the moment when he's only really got one choice, and to go and sit on the bench at Man City. I just don't see that as appealing for Jack Grealish.
Neither do I. Paddy, you just change tack a small bit here. What would you put Stoke last into? We've been flirting around this one.
Yeah,
it wasn't great. It wasn't great watching. But what would you put it down? And that's a great question, because I could have farted around asking 40 different questions and never been as direct as this. So TSR might hire you as being my script man in future, because God knows I can't shut up when I start asking a question. So I need direct ones like this.
So there's a number of factors in play here, and the biggest one being that Stoke are a week ahead of us in their training. They were back a week before, and they will play competitive matches a week before us. Remembering that we're only a couple of weeks into probably very high octane training, there's going to be a lot of heavy legs as well. When did that training stop? Probably Thursday before a match on Saturday. I would imagine there would be a lot of heavy legs out there on the Saturday. And this is all a part of preseason. You're going to get losses like that. You're going to get leggy performances. The only time I will judge what this team does is when they go out against Watford on the opening day of the season. They could have played a behind closed doors friendly, but they put it out there. The fans are back in the stadium. They were in fine voice and fettle. It was brilliant to watch. But it was bad performance. I don't think anybody will gloss over that with the club. I wouldn't say anybody was too happy. But manager back on the training ground today. A few issues put to bed. JohnTerry has said his goodbyes. There's a lot going on there in the background as well. Great to see Dean Smith back on the training pitch. I think that was important as well. So his next task is to get Jack back in now and sign a new contract, and we'll all be very happy, and we won't give a shit what happened at Stoke at the weekend.
Absolutely, we won't. Yeah, and just on the Stoke piece before we leave it there, I agree with you, but I also agree that there was some mild positives from that game as well. Obviously, look, let actually, before we start talking about the mild positives, look what Wesley did. I suppose let's just get it out there. Look, no one can sit here and go, yeah, he did that. And look, it was pretty silly, but I'm not showing him the door from the club or anything like that. He's still only a young kid. He's got pent up frustration. Who knows what the hell. I don't envisage anything was said or anything went on there. It was just a silly move from him. Fired up. He lasted 7 minutes, and to be honest with you, I'm sure he hung his head in the dressing room afterwards, and he probably got to kick up the behind the probably any of the rest of us that would get. And
at the end of the day, he's the one that's going to suffer from that the most, because it's going to affect his mindset and everything he does from now on. So it's a pity it happened. It was stupid, but I'd rather it happened against Stoke the other day than happen against Watford in 3 weeks' time.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the long and the short of it. So if he's going to have a brain fart like that and do something absolutely ridiculous, do it on a pre-season friendly, and don't do it in competitive games where you're putting us on the back foot when we're trying to chase a game. Just another thing, the first half we played effectively 2 sixes, I thought. Yeah. And the midfield was kind of non-existent. So I kind of put that into the mix. That's why we lost at the weekend. But as I say, I've already drawn a line over it. I was a bit disappointed watching it. I thought we were very flat, but I've drawn a line under it now and just put it down to a learning process and heavy legs.
Yeah. Positives for me were the fact that Lamar Bogard looked pretty good. Some people were blaming him for the Stephen Fletcher first goal. I can't see it. He's not getting to that cross anyway. He's a pearler of a cross. be honest with you, it was a brilliant header, but Jed Steer made up Stephen Fletcher's kind of mind for him to have a little crack at it anyway, but because he came on so far, it was a wonder goal. Like, don't get it wrong, that's it. The second goal was an absolute scream altogether. I know Courtney House backs off, but my God, like, he put it in a postage stamp in the top corner. Yeah, look, 9 times out of 10 they fly off the top of the stand. But
if Courtney House backs off like that against Watford, we're in trouble, and I don't think he does.
Yeah,
again,
and sorry,
sometimes it's easier to let the goalkeeper do the work behind you and goad him into a shot, but 9 times out of 10, as you say, that ends up in Rose Ed, but it didn't at the weekend. So there you go.
I think that as well was a product of not having that defensive midfielder in there, maybe that specific 6 in the second half, and it was weird. There was times there in the first half. There was times I think that we actually had a 4-4-2, and Anwar Ghazi went up front beside Ollie Watkins. We played a flat 3, and then we went back to our 4-2-3-1. I actually think in the first half, we played different formations. I think it was a case of learning how to change formations mid-game without stopping, having situations whereby, okay, we're going to play in this formation. I actually thought it was pretty evident, to be honest with you, at times in the first half that was going on. And maybe that's something that Craig Shakespeare was trying out, because he is the tactics man an awful lot on the training ground. And maybe that's something he was trying out, because why not? It's preseason. Why not? It's preseason.
That's the time to try it, yeah.
Exactly.
We're not going to have that chance in 3 weeks' time, unless you won't even have it next week on a Tuesday night in Bodymore Heath, which is unlikely to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And like Stoke are decent opposition as well. Stoke are a week ahead. You're coming up against a tactical manager, like more of an international style tactical manager, like Michael O'Neill, who is going to go agricultural when he needs to. And yeah, it was an interesting first half from that point of view. As I said, the positives, Lamar Bogart. Another positive was somebody who actually, did he play? I don't think he did. He came on in the second half, but I thought the difference between him where he played in the second half against Stoke and where he played in the played against Walsall was Jacob Ramsey. I thought the more withdrawn role suited Jacob Ramsey an awful lot more, and I think that if we are playing 2 6s, I think he was much more. It was much more beneficial for him to play in that position against Walsall. Obviously, taking into account that the opposition was lesser than there was with Stoke, but interesting food for thought. See where he lines up in the field. His brother Aaron played wide right. Don't think he's going to be a wide right player. I think he's going to be more central, but. Yeah, look, there's a few positives. It was a frustrating game to watch, but I genuinely believe in the first half we were just going out there to try formations, and then the second half, then we tried to chase. We started to chase it, and we got suckered with an absolute belter, and then we were never going to win from 2-0 down. Not with the team we had on. But Keenan Davis played really well. Keenan Davis had a bullet of a header that was saved. He got around the field. He was our most dangerous player, for sure. Maybe he was auditioning for a move to Stoke, because they are interested apparently in signing him. But we will never know. Well, we will, I suppose, if he signs for Stoke. But we don't know today, and we certainly didn't know yesterday. Last question, I think, last topic, I suppose, we're going to talk about, we touched upon it there a moment ago, was, and it's for Leighton again, has there ever been a footballer / coach who's made you change your personal opinion on as much as JohnTerry? I couldn't stand the guy before, now I'm full of respect and gratitude. What do you think, Paddy? JohnTerry, obviously we know that he's left the team today. He's gone to pursue some family time to start off with, although I have a sneaking suspicion we might see him rock up in Rome with his old mate at some stage. Absolutely. Just nothing in that other than just in the sky stuff. Why wouldn't you want to move to Rome for a while? But JohnTerry, fantastic player, finished up his career with Aston Villa, went into coaching. I would never have said he would have been a coach when he was playing. But talk to me about JohnTerry, Paddy.
Well, I think that question just sums up, there's been a lot of players I thought that way of and came to Villa and changed my mind to them. I could probably make a list of them if you know, but I think he's definitely the one who more than anybody else made me change my mind about him. First off, as a player, to sit in the whole end and watch him, I've said it so many times before, he's like the conductor of an orchestra. He just spots everything 5 minutes before it happens. He's incredible. it was a joy to watch him for that one season. It's just a pity we didn't get back into the Premier League when he was there. And then to come in as a coach, I was a little bit disappointed he didn't continue as a player as well at the time. And when we started to struggle in that, even in that season, we promoted. Like, we were so far behind at one stage. There was a lot of calls for him to step up and play, but they stuck with the system and got us promoted. So that's something else to be really thankful for, that he was involved in that. And, you know, a lot of people will forget what he did today, but I think to come out now before the season starts and not give the management a headache further into this process of not having that other coach, if they feel need to replace him, that is, if we don't have somebody like Amelia Edenacker or whoever who will step into that position, that he's done it now rather than Martin O'Neill-esque the week before or the week of a Premier League starting. So look, I've nothing but respect for John Terry. I was blessed to have met him a couple of times. Seems like a really humble guy. He was very nice to the fans, very good to the kids. You know, forgetting about everything that happened in the past. I'm not a big fan of Chelsea or whatever he is alleged to be done in the past. But for now, he'd be a hero of mine, having seen what he's done in the last 4 years.
I must say, that last comment we had up there just after losing it there from Leighton, I kind of agree with it as well. When he first burst onto the scene, he was fresh-faced kid. You know, he had a bit of swagger about him from centre half. He was something different. There weren't a lot of like, he wasn't like back in that day. There was a lot of centre halves that were maybe carrying a bit of a gut, that were just there standing there heading balls away. John Terry wasn't that guy, and yeah, look, we'll say there was times he was captain in Chelsea. He was coming out of the tunnel, and you know, I would have hurled abuse at him at the TV watching him, and wouldn't have thought very highly of him. But he did come. I always thought that, you know, the moniker of him being, how am I going to say it, thinking he was too good for certain things, I don't think that can be labelled at him anymore. He came to us in our deep and in one of our hours of need. Like, there was,
absolutely, yeah.
He had no need to come to Aston Villa. Like, there was no need for him to come to Aston Villa in his mind. He went to a lot of other clubs. He could have gone out and, like, realistically, he could have Sergio Ramos, and he could have gone play with Paris Saint-Germain, you know, or you know, just continue to play at the top level. Came to Aston Villa, developed a liking for the club, ended up staying as a coach, and you know, that shows a small bit more to the man, I think, I would have thought 5 years ago. You know, when I was maybe not as fond of him. So listen, I wish him well on what he does. Whether he gets replaced or not, I don't think we'll know in the short term. But I would imagine that Dean Smith would maybe bring someone in, whether it's a massive signing, whether it's a massive appointment. I don't think it's going to be Olaf Mellberg, as much and all as I would love to be here inside in the dugout. And I don't think it's going to be Olaf Mellberg. I think that's very much a fan's folly. But it might be somebody who might come in there and help out. Or it might be no one. You know, might be happy with his lot. Happy with his lot.
Well, that's we looked around at it today, and I went, "Does he need to be replaced? I don't know. You know, there might be someone there in the background that we don't know that could fill in there. So we'll find out in due course. But for now, look, if I could get a word to him, it would be to shake his hand and say thanks, because, you know, we could do a lot worse than what we've had in the last 5 years with John Terry there. Hello.
Why not? He did say he was offered a coaching opportunity. If he doesn't stick on with a team before the start of the season, maybe his second thoughts, and he just comes back and comes in as a voice. I very much think that John Terry was just an experienced voice. I don't think I have nothing to base this on, but I don't think he was a mastermind on the field or anything like that. But I think he was there to offer his experience and his voice, and that's important. You know, that's important as well.
Offer his voice, he did when the chips were down. He was up in Dean Smith's ear all the time, talking, going through stuff, trying to see how they would change it. You could see he was very hands-on in his time there. And, you know, the iconic image of when we got promoted, he was standing there right beside Dean, ready to hug him. That was the first person to meet him. So he was definitely hands-on. There's no doubt about that. A lot of people questioned that in the early days when our defence was in turmoil. But turned it around, and look at where our defence was last season. It was absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah. Martin, I just saw there, would we send Nakamba or not? I don't think we will. I think we'll actually might even see more in Nakamba this year. I think that once again he could be a forgotten man. I don't think we're going to sell him unless we bring in a replacement for him. TJH45 says we should take Wednesday, be back in Villa. We actually spoke about that, and I think that yes, we would have him as that hybrid defensive midfielder, central midfield player as well, which would be good. Paddy Kieran wants to know, have we any idea when we'll be able to get over to Villa Park? Well, I'm getting
discuss.
I'm getting the second one on Friday, so after that, then we'll be in a better decision to be in a better position to at least make up our minds, or have our minds made up for us, whether we're even allowed to travel or not is another question. But as of now, we will be looking to get over early season.
The biggest issue from our point of view is the rate of this variant is traveling through the UK, and I don't know whether I can live myself if I bring it back and give it to someone. So that's my ultimate concern at the moment. I am hoping to get to Brentford, the home game of the season. If that doesn't happen, it'll be shortly after that, I hope. Touch wood.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of these times you start thinking about getting to Villa Park and get the butterflies, and then you kind of go, yeah, but we don't even know if we might book flights, but we might not even be able to get on the plane from this side anyway. So it's got to be an interesting one to be confirmed. I think is what we'll say with that one. To be confirmed, guys. It's 11:20, and we have 118 people watching us talk absolute nonsense about Aston Villa. This is amazing. Thanks very much to everybody who's tuned in tonight. We would really appreciate it if you could give us a subscription on YouTube. If you're not already subscribed, we really appreciate it. If you could like this video, if you follow us on Twitter, you'll find us on @LoveMcGrathPod. You'll find Paddy on @VillaPaddy as well. We'll be doing loads more of these, as I say, and we'll be doing more team sheet tantrums before our games as the season comes back, and we'll actually do them starting for not the Sevilla game. Who we playing before Sevilla? Mind is gone. Coming up to midnight.
We've Forest tomorrow, haven't we? Or Wednesday.
Forest on Wednesday, and then sure. Do you know what? We might even do a team sheet tantrum before Forest as well. Who knows? We'll see. We're that kind of way, anything could happen. Anything could happen there, but you'll never know unless you subscribe on YouTube. It's the only way you're going to know. We also have an audio podcast as well. Everything goes out on the audio podcast as well. So if you can find us on Apple Podcast or Spreaker or Spotify, wherever, you'll be able to find our audio versions there. If YouTube, like me, sometimes I'll watch on YouTube, but you can't turn off your phone if you're watching YouTube, and you can't put it in your pocket, so it could be a bit of a hindrance that way. So you got to follow us both ways if you really like what we're saying. But thanks so much to everybody for everything you do. Really appreciate everybody who follows and interacts with the podcast. I'm seeing some brand new names here that I'm absolutely thrilled to see. We'd love to chat to you guys more and more often. So hopefully we'll see you back in the future. If you liked what you saw tonight, just give us a sub on YouTube. So that's going to do it, guys. Farewell to JT. Thank you for a great almost 4 years with the club. Good to see Dean Smith back. Hopefully we see Jack Grealish sign a contract during the week, and then the cherry on the cake will be great to see Leon Bailey burst through the doors of Bodymore Heath on maybe Friday or Saturday, then top off a fantastic week just before the August bank holiday weekend here in Ireland. So thanks everybody so much for listening. Thanks everybody so much for watching, and all that's left to say is up the Villa.
Up the Villa.